behind her long-awaited Brexit plans. The Prime Minister said it was the only way to ensure Britain could control immigration and curb the powers of EU judges. She warned the EU against trying to punish Britain and surprised many by allowing Parliament a final vote on the deal. But critics condemned her plans as economically catastrophic. Well, in a moment, the latest reaction from Downing Street, Brussels and the city and across the UK. But first, here's our political editor, Robert Peston, on May's Brexit blueprint.
A morning exit to tell us about Brexit.
Good morning, what's the plan? Have you got a plan?
To tell us at last what leaving the EU would mean for how we keep ourselves safe, how we make laws, how we do business with the rest of the world.
We seek a new and equal partnership between an independent, self-governing global Britain and our friends and allies in the EU. Not partial membership of the European Union, associate membership of the European Union, or anything that leaves us half in, half out. No, the United Kingdom is leaving the European Union, and my job is to get the right deal for Britain as we do.
So what deal did she say she wanted here at gilded Lancaster House in a speech to ambassadors from Europe and many other important nations?
We will pursue a bold and ambitious free trade agreement with the European Union. This agreement should allow for the freest possible trade in goods and services between Britain and the EU's member states. But I want to be clear. What I am proposing cannot mean membership of the single market.
To the delight of her more Brexit-loving ministers, such as Boris Johnson and Liam Fox, she said leaving the single market, where companies bear no tariffs and face common rules, would save us some money.
The days of Britain making vast contributions to the European Union every year will end.
As for the customs union, which protects our businesses from costly checks on goods as they cross borders, if possible, she would like to be a half member of that. But what if Europe doesn't give us the new trade deal she wants?
That would be an act of calamitous self-harm for the countries of Europe. And it would not be the act of a friend. No deal for Britain is better than a bad deal for Britain. Because we would still be able to trade with Europe. We would still be free to strike trade deals across the world. And we would have the freedom to set the competitive tax rates and embrace the policies that would attract the world's best companies and biggest investors to Britain. And if we were excluded from accessing the single market, we would be free to change the basis of Britain's economic model.
And if she does pull off a deal, she won't be the only judge of whether it's up to scratch.
I can confirm today that the government will put the final deal that is agreed between the UK and the EU to a vote in both Houses of Parliament before it comes into force.
The reason Mrs May confirmed we'd be leaving the single market is because her priority is to control immigration from the rest of the EU, which is impossible under single market rules. But as she said, she wants to negotiate a new free trade deal with Europe. And even if we have more control of our borders, the Prime Minister still wants to maintain the passportless common travel area with the Republic of Ireland. Now, since leaving the EU is supposed to be about returning power to Parliament, what would it actually mean that the final divorce deal will be put to a vote of MPs and Lords? If Parliament were to reject the final deal, would we still be in the EU?
I'm sure that the British Parliament will want to deliver on the views of the British people and respect the democratic decision that was taken.
A golden, glittering future for her and us, or will we be poorer and will Labour mess up her plans?
We have said all along that we will not block Article 50 coming in, and that's going to be very soon within Parliament. We will be putting a case for market access to Europe. We'll be putting a case for regulation of labour market and all the issues that go with that. We'll be putting a very strong case to the British people and to Parliament. This is 2 years away, and it's quite nice that at last we've got confirmation that 27 member state parliaments will get a vote, including ours, and of course the European Parliament also gets a vote on this.
But Scotland wanting to stay in the single market, is the harvest a new independence referendum?
Well, I already said it was highly likely. The Prime Minister today, I think, has made it even more likely. I've done my best and will continue to do my best to compromise, but for a compromise to work, you have to have two willing partners.
So what did Brussels woman in Britain make of it?
I think it was very interesting, still not without ambiguity.
This is what another official in the hall made of it. Daily Mail fodder. In leaving the EU, the Prime Minister won't be able to please everyone all the time, so choosing who she wants to be her friends will make us richer or poorer. Robert Peston, ITV News.
Well, there has already been some reaction to the Prime Minister's speech in Europe. Germany's Chamber of Commerce said it will lead to firms scaling back investment in the UK. Well, our political correspondent Paul Brand is in Brussels for us tonight. So Paul, what have EU leaders been saying?
Well, in general, Mary, they've enjoyed the clarity of Theresa May's speech, if not always the reality of it. She's been having calls this evening with the President of the European Commission, Jean-Claude Juncker, and the President of the European Council, Donald Tusk. I'm expecting details of those calls any moment now. She's also going to speak to the French President and the German Chancellor this evening. But Donald Tusk, for his part, tweeted this afternoon to say this was a sad process, that these were surreal times, but at least the Prime Minister was now being realistic. Of course, the EU has always argued that she cannot pick and choose which bits of the EU membership we will retain when we leave. In fact, some in the EU are still accusing her of doing that this evening. For example, the European Parliament's chief Brexit negotiator, Guy Verhofstadt, saying she's under the illusion she can opt back in to bits and pieces.
Well, Brand in Brussels, thank you.